Imagine this. You open your inbox and you find out a competing broker in your market just got acquired. And overnight, they're bigger, stronger, and more dangerous than they were yesterday. That deal could have been yours. In this episode, I'm going to walk you through 5 critical milestones that every broker needs to understand before they even think about buying or selling a brokerage. If you get these 5 things right, you dramatically increase your chance of growing through acquisition, and you avoid the expensive mistakes that often take years to recover from. Let's get into it. This is the profitable broker. Mergers and acquisitions are hands down the best way to grow your business quickly and effectively. Perhaps a bigger reason to focus on this strategy is the last thing you want to happen is for a potential acquisition to end up in your competitor's office and create a bigger and more powerful competitor instead of them coming to you. Hi, I'm Wayne Einhorn. I'm the founder here at Inner Circle Coaching. Merger and acquisition activity is at a record high, and this generational opportunity will last for the next number of years. It's literally a once-in-a-lifetime opportunity for you to grow your brokerage much more quickly and effectively than you can do organically. I want to teach you the 5 milestones in an effective mergers and acquisition strategy. Let me first share the 5 milestones so you have an overview, and then I'll go into each one in detail. The 5 milestones are: number 1, getting in relationship. Number 2, the preliminary discussion. Number 3, due diligence and LOI. Number 4, the definitive agreement and final due diligence. And number 5, transition. The first milestone is what we call getting in relationship. This is where the whole process starts. Most people think that the most important commodity in a transaction, in a merger and acquisition transaction, is money. Most times when people call us at Inner Circle Coaching or at Broker VMA Inc., our valuations, mergers, and acquisitions team, the first question they ask when they call is they want to talk about price. How much is it worth? How much should we pay? The reality is that all great transactions start with a high degree of trust. Our team has seen great opportunities with a lot of money on the table end up in the trash bin because of a lack of trust. And on the other hand, we've seen transactions that weren't well funded that worked out because there was a high degree of trust there. People often ask us, how do you get started with a mergers and acquisition strategy? This is perhaps the most powerful information that you can get a hold of in the execution of your plan. The broker that will win the mergers and acquisition contest every time is the one that has the highest trust relationship with every single competitor, and here's why. Brokers will often call us when starting on an M&A strategy and ask, who should I call first? And the reality is nobody knows who's going to sell or when. Your job is to make sure that every competitor thinks of you first when they're thinking of selling their business. If you call your competitor and ask them if they're thinking of selling, I can almost guarantee you will get a no 100% of the time. Your goal is not to find out if someone is selling, because you can't. If there is no trust built up, the person you are calling could literally have been having a coffee that morning with their significant other saying, gee, I think it's time to sell the brokerage. And when you call, they'll say no because there's no trust with you. Would you want someone you barely know finding out you're thinking of selling your brokerage business? Of course not. When you call somebody, you're simply going to try to set a meeting for a coffee or lunch. The reason for the meeting is simple, and the dialogue might sound something like this. Hello, Broker X. It's Wayne calling from Inner Circle Coaching. I know when your feet hit the floor this morning, you probably didn't think about selling your brokerage, but that's not why I'm calling. What I know is this: the most important commodity in any business transaction is trust, and we hardly know each other. What I'd like to do is grab a coffee with you and get to know you better in case someday I have to sell my brokerage or you want to sell yours. I'd like to explore the possibility that we get to know each other and we're at the top of each other's list of who we might call if either of us wanted to sell. This approach will get you some appointments, and it'll start building trust and discovering who might be a fit for you and your organization. So the first step the first milestone was getting in relationship. The second milestone is the preliminary discussion. Don't start the preliminary discussion until you've been invited to do so. Nothing can destroy trust faster than asking someone if they want to marry you before they're even comfortable with the dating process. When you progress to the preliminary discussion, the first thing that I want you to do is establish what I call the background of the discussion. Really, what I want you to do is set up the basic values for any of your conversations. The background of the discussion needs to be win-win or no deal. In other words, both parties have to win or there can be no transaction. So as you begin this part of the process, try to document what a win looks like for both sides. Keep a journal and record all of your discussions. Document the date, the time, and who is present for each meeting. Even small transactions can become quite complicated over time, and it's always beneficial to have notes that we can look back on when we go to create the agreement. There is one avoidable mistake I want to bring to your attention at this time. During this part of the conversation, don't commit to anything. You can't commit because you don't know the whole scope of the deal. In this part of the process, you're just going to take notes and say things like, I don't know if we can do that or not. I don't know what's possible. Let's write it down and see. The third milestone in the process is the letter of intent, the LOI, and the due diligence. In the preliminary discussion, we have a list of documents we request called Due Diligence Light. It's an easy list for any owner to produce, and it gives us a good indication of what we need to establish a price and deal structure. Of course, the letter of intent will outline the details of the transaction, including price and deal structure. This part of the process is where the quality of the professional you selected to represent you in this transaction will be critical. There are several areas of the deal structure that can be absolutely disastrous if someone unfamiliar with the real estate brokerage business or inexperienced in mergers and acquisitions is handling this part of the transaction. Also, a well-written LOI or letter of intent will give your attorney a template which will minimize legal fees. The next part of the process is the definitive agreement. Here is where we enroll the services of a qualified attorney or lawyer that is familiar with how to close a transaction on a business in your local jurisdiction. Of course, the definitive agreement will depend on many things, including whether or not you decide on a share sale or an asset purchase. Generally speaking, if BMA is handling the transaction, we prefer to review the definitive agreement to ensure it contains all of the details discussed and outlined in the letter of intent. The final or fifth part of the process is the transition. That's the final milestone. Closing day is now on our sights, and we have to make sure that there is an airtight, choreographed set of actions to ensure that the transition is positive for all parties. Over the years, I've heard many horror stories about transitions, and I have to say, I have never experienced a horror story on a transaction that we have participated in. It is nothing to mess around with. There is a proven process of execution, and it's critical to stick to the plan. All of this may sound very complicated or even scary. The truth is, we do it hundreds of times every year. If you don't have a proven professional representing you as you navigate this process, make sure you get one. Enroll your professional early in the buying process. It's counterproductive when we get involved later on and we have to unwind some deal terms because it isn't in the best interest of the buyer or seller, or simply just can't be executed on. Buying and selling a real estate brokerage is no time to experience with the for sale by owner process. If today's episode resonated with you, hit subscribe or follow so you don't miss what's coming next. More stories, more lessons, and the unfiltered side of what it really takes to succeed in the market. I'm Wayne Einhorn, and this is The Profitable Broker. Real conversations about what it takes to run a successful brokerage. And we're just getting started. Let's go. This is The Profitable Broker.